Hey everybody, I'm Deborah Richmond. The quilt behind me is called Scrappy Bars. This is a really easy baby quilt. You can make it as large as you want, but this one is a baby quilt. It is made of one simple block over and over again. Now you know this is the kind of quilt I absolutely love. You cannot tell readily by looking at it exactly where the block begins and ends because it makes the secondary pattern of the stacked blocks. So I'm going to show you where the block is. So the block is right here. Do you see this unit? It is made up of 3 strips, one that has the white square at the top, and then a strip with a white square at the bottom, and a strip with a white square at the top. Now what happens is when you put this block in, you're going to start, let's start at the end of the row and show you. The white blocks are at the top for the block. Here's the next block and the squares are at the bottom. Here's the next block and the 2 squares are at the top. So you're going to take that same block and keep flipping it and adding it down the row. So let's show you how to make this block. Alright, so here is the block, and you are not going to believe how fast and easy this is. So let me show you what you're going to need. So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need 3 strips of fabric that are 2.5 inches by 4.5, and I've got 3 different scraps here. I'm going to go ahead and even up this edge. And I'm going to use this ruler is called the cutting edge. It's really cool because this side that I cut on has an edge that actually sharpens your blade. I've been using it for a while and I really like it. So I also like it because the markings give me the half inch and then the inch mark, so I can go 2.5 pretty easily. Everybody has a favorite ruler. This is a new favorite of mine. I really like it. Alright, so I've got the 2.5 inch strip. I'm going to square up the end here. And I will need 4.5 inches. So there's my half inch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure. Okay. So this block will take 3 squares that are 2.5 inches and 3 rectangles that we just cut that are 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Now the first step we're going to do, and it's a very simple block, so the first step we're going to do is we are going to sew our pieces together like this. So do you see the block starting to form? I'm going to sew these 2 together, these 2 together, and these 2 together. Alright, and so I have these right here. I've gone and sewed together the 2.5 inch square with the rectangle. Same thing here, the square goes first, and I sew it, and then the rectangle, and then the square. Now I'm going to sew these 3 together to create the block. And that is all there is to it. This quilt, so this is a 6.5 inch block, and so for a nice sized baby quilt I've taken 6 blocks across, and then I have gone with 6 rows down, so it is 6 blocks by 6 blocks. And it makes this nice square, nice sized baby quilt. It is really hard to tell when you're looking at this right now where those blocks are, but now that you've seen me put it together, I know that you can start picking out where they are. Again, great beginner quilt, great quilt for using up a lot of your scraps. You can see the more types of scraps you use, the better. Make sure that they have a pretty high contrast, but here again you can see here and there we have a rectangle that is not that high of contrast, and yet it still works. So some of these are lighter than others. I actually like that. It makes your eye keep moving around the quilt a little bit as your brain kind of sorts through the pattern, and it just gives it just a little bit more interest. So again, this is called Bricks and Blocks, and thank you for joining me.
And be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can do so here by clicking the subscribe button. That way you'll find out about new videos as they become available.